People said billionaires had everything. But Alexander Harrington knew that wasn't true the moment his wife looked him in the eyes and told him the one thing he never thought he'd hear. "You're too old for me, Alexander. I need a fresh blood, someone who can make me happy." Her voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was horrifyingly calm. That calmness cut deeper than any scream ever could. They stood in the dining hall of their penthouse, the one with the glass walls that made the city look like it belonged to them. Tonight, the world outside felt cold and mocking. On the table between them sat a birthday cake, his 53rd, the candles still burning. She didn't even look at them. Camilla, his wife of 5 years, was 31. Stunning. Ambitious. Beautiful in a way that made photographers fight for her attention. She wore a black silk dress that fit her like a secret only she could keep. Her diamond necklace, a gift from Alexander, glittered, catching his fading hope in its reflection. He tried to laugh, assuming she was joking. "You're serious?" "You knew this would happen eventually," she replied, taking a sip of wine without meeting his eyes. "I didn't sign up to spend my prime years with a man who's slowing down." He stared at her and his chest tightened. Slowing down? He was a self-made billionaire, CEO of Harrington Tech, still running marathons, still leading a global empire. But in her eyes, he was already ancient history. "Is there someone else?" he asked, and his voice betrayed the hurt he tried to hide. She smirked. "Maybe. Maybe not. Let's not get dramatic." But her phone vibrated on the table. She glanced. A smirk. A small blush. A text message that made her glow in a way he hadn't seen in months. And she didn't even bother hiding it. Alexander swallowed the burn rising in his throat. Something was wrong, not just wrong, planned. He saw it in the way she avoided his gaze, in the way she rehearsed this speech in her head, in the way she wore that damned necklace like a trophy she already knew she'd pawn off one day. Flashback. Their first night together, her whispering in his ear after he rescued her from financial ruin. "You saved me. I'll never leave you." Promise broken. Flashback. Him watching her smile too brightly at a younger man during a gala last month. "He's just an intern, darling." Lie told. Alexander took a breath that hurt. "You're my wife." Ex-wife. Soon. Cold. Surgical. She blew out his birthday candles, the flames dying with their marriage, grabbed her phone and walked toward the door. But before she left, she turned back, eyes glinting with satisfaction. "I want a divorce. And don't try to change my mind. I've already found someone who makes me feel alive." The door slammed. Alexander stood alone. The candles smoked. The city stared. He felt the burn of betrayal, and something else rising inside him. He wasn't done. Not with her. Not with whoever fresh blood she thought would replace him. And for the first time in years, Alexander Harrington's heart turned. Cold. Alexander didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, replaying every detail. The look in her eyes. The confidence she had when she walked out. The smirk that said she was already gone long before she spoke the words. By sunrise he was in his personal gym, punching a leather bag until his knuckles stung. Sweat, anger, and humiliation dripped from him. He wasn't old. He wasn't washed up. He wasn't done. But she had made him question all of it. His assistant, Marcus, loyal for 15 years, entered cautiously. "Sir." She posted something. Alexander wiped his face and grabbed his phone. The moment the screen lit up, his blood boiled. There she was. Camilla. Smiling like she never smiled for him anymore. Wearing a short red dress, the one he told her was too revealing for public events. Her arm wrapped around a young man, tall, athletic, maybe 26. Tattoos on his forearm. Confidence in his grin. Dangerous charm. Caption: "Life begins when you stop pretending." Red heart fire #fresh start. And the tag on the man's profile. At Adrian Blake, personal trainer, "If you're not living young, you're dying old." 30,000 likes in 20 minutes. Thousands of comments praising her upgrade. Marcus whispered, "Should we prepare a PR response?" Alexander stared at the phone. No, his voice was ice. "We wait." He zoomed into Adrian's face. Something about him felt familiar. But Alexander couldn't place where he'd seen him before. That unsettled him more. Flashback. 3 months ago, Camilla insisting she needed a personal trainer. Her saying, "You're too busy to train me, Alex. He understands my energy." And Adrian, walking into their home gym, shaking Alexander's hand with a grip that was a little too firm, a look that lasted a little too long. Alexander pushed the memory aside. Later that evening, the betrayal spread like a virus. Tabloids ran headlines. Sparkles, billionaire's wife abandons him for younger man. Fire, Camilla Harrington chooses passion over power. Broken heart, age gap love. Why it always fails. Every notification felt like a stab. His PR team advised him to release a statement. His lawyers warned that she would go aggressive in the divorce. His board demanded he show up to the press conference in 2 days or risk losing investor trust. Everyone needed something from him. Except the one person who promised to love him. He sat alone again in that same penthouse, staring at the wine glass she left. Lipstick smudged. A stain of betrayal. He replayed her words. I've already found someone who makes me feel alive. Alive? Had he made her feel dead? No. He refused to believe that. He gave her everything, luxury, stability, protection. But in her mind, youth was worth more than loyalty. He clenched the wine glass until it cracked. Blood mixed with red wine as a drop slid down his palm. Fresh blood. That phrase echoed again and again. Was she in love with him? Or just with the idea of hurting Alexander? Because something told him. Adrian Blake wasn't just a new lover. He was part of a bigger game. And Alexander was done being the fool who didn't see the moves. If you've come this far, please subscribe, like and share to your friends. 2 days later, Alexander arrived at Harrington Tech headquarters. A towering glass monolith that reflected the sky. Normally he walked in like a conqueror. Today, eyes followed him with pity disguised as concern. Whispers trailed behind him like shadows. Did you see the pictures? 31 and she traded up. He looks devastated. He ignored them. But humiliation was a living thing, he felt it crawl beneath his skin. The boardroom waited for him. Investors, executives, partners, the people who once admired his strength. His CFO, Evelyn Grant, looked at him with both fear and sympathy. We're sorry about your situation, she began gently, but the media storm is affecting the brand. We need reassurance that the company is stable. Alexander straightened his tie. The company is stable because I built it. And I'm not stepping down or slowing down. Anyone who questions that is welcome to leave. Silence. Respect. The room remembered who he was. But after the meeting, Evelyn pulled him aside. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You should know. Camilla visited a law firm yesterday. She's filing for asset division. Aggressively. Alexander's breath hitched. Aggressively? She's not just asking for a divorce. She's coming for ownership. His jaw clenched. His empire, the very reason she lived the life she had, and she wanted to carve pieces out of it. Evelyn hesitated again. Also, that guy Adrian? Something's off. I asked someone to look into him. Alexander's head snapped up. Why? Evelyn's eyes flickered with a memory, foreshadowing heavy in her sigh. Because I've seen him before. I just don't know where. For a moment, Alexander saw something different in her. Fear. Not of gossip. Of danger. But before he could ask more, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You didn't deserve her. But she deserves to be happy. Stay out of our way, old man. Attached was a photo. Camilla and Adrian, in his own home gym, her hand on his chest. Their lips dangerously close. Time froze. Flashback. Camilla trembling years ago, telling him, no one has ever made me feel safe. Please don't ever leave me. He had wiped her tears and promised her forever. Now she was letting another man touch the very place that once healed her. Alexander's hand shook as he lowered the phone. Who sent this? He muttered. Evelyn looked over his shoulder. Her eyes narrowed. Someone who wants you angry. He didn't respond. Anger was too small a word. His heart felt like glass, the first crack spreading into a fracture that couldn't ever return to what it was. His breathing turned sharp, restless. She wanted war. She wanted humiliation. She wanted him to suffer while she laughed with her fresh blood. Alexander whispered to himself, voice like steel. She made a mistake. Evelyn stepped back, watching a dangerous new fire rise behind his eyes. What are you going to do? He didn't look at her. I'm going to find out who Adrian Blake really is. And for the first time since she left, he allowed himself to imagine the end of this game. Not the end of his heart. The end. Of theirs. That night, rain streaked down the penthouse windows like the sky itself mourned something lost. Alexander stood alone in his study, the one room Camilla rarely entered because she said it felt too serious. Books lined the walls. His life's work surrounded him. Achievements that once meant something. Now they felt like props in a play he no longer understood. Marcus arrived with a file in hand, thin but heavy with implications. We dug into Adrian Blake's background like you asked. Alexander looked up sharply. And? Marcus hesitated. There isn't much to dig into. Too little. That's the problem. He laid the folder on the desk. No university records. No family. No credible history before 3 years ago. Just one odd note. He used to live in a low-income neighborhood, a rundown area Alexander had donated millions to transform. Flashback. A younger Alexander announcing the city project to help struggling youth. Cameras flashing, politicians praising him. One boy in the crowd, about Adrian's age now, stared at him with hatred instead of hope. Marcus continued. His rise feels manufactured. Alexander opened a photo attached to the file. Adrian years ago, staring at a news clipping containing his name. Circling it in red ink. Not admiration. Obsession. Alexander's pulse quickened. So what is he after? Money? Marcus shook his head. Feels personal. Alexander looked out at the storm. The lightning reflected in his eyes like a warning. But there was more. Marcus swallowed. We also discovered something about Camilla. Her name tasted bitter in the air. Say it. She's been secretly withdrawing large sums from her personal accounts. Rapidly. Alexander's brows furrowed. How large? 7 million in 3 months. His heart slammed into his ribs. 7 million wasn't fun money. It was preparation. Skip. A plan she thought he'd never see. Marcus lowered his voice. Sir. This wasn't impulsive passion. This was organized. Alexander's mind raced. Had she married him for the plan alone? Had this been brewing since the beginning? The idea sliced through him like a blade. He sank into his chair, staring at the folder, his life reduced to paper and proof that love might have been a lie. Then lightning cracked outside. His computer screen flickered, a security alert from his home cameras. Marcus rushed over and opened it. Camilla and Adrian, entering the penthouse. Laughing, kissing, touching everything like they owned it. In his home. A room-by-room violation. Alexander stood, trembling, fury radiating off his body. He watched Adrian grab a bottle of wine, the one Camilla gave Alexander on their anniversary, and pop it open like a joke. Camilla wrapped herself around him, whispering in his ear. Marcus reached to turn the video off. Alexander grabbed his wrist. No. He needed to see. He needed to feel all of the fire so he would never forget this moment. On screen, Adrian looked directly into the camera, smirking, aware they were being watched, then dragged his finger across his throat in a mocking threat. The message was clear. We're taking everything. Even the air you breathe. Alexander whispered, voice deadly quiet. They think they've already won. Marcus stared at him. Sir, what are you going to do? Alexander's jaw locked. I'm going to take back my life. Not with tears. Not with begging. With precision. With power. And if necessary, with war. If you've come this far, please subscribe, like, and share to your friends. Dawn crept slow the next day, as if even the sun didn't want to rise on Alexander's new life. He hadn't slept, not a second. His mind was locked on that camera footage. Camilla and Adrian treating his world like a playground built for their amusement. He arrived at the headquarters early, before anyone else. But Evelyn Grant was already there. She stood in the hallway holding 2 coffees. When she saw him, she offered one without a word. He took it, surprised by the gesture. This woman was always business, sharp edges and deadlines. But this morning, something softer flickered through the professionalism. You shouldn't face this alone, she whispered. He almost argued, but the exhaustion in his bones took the fight away. They walked into his office together, and she didn't sit on the opposite side of the desk like usual. She took the chair beside him, a tiny shift but one that said everything. Marcus told me about Adrian's file, she began. But there's something else you have to know. Alexander lifted his gaze. What now? Evelyn pulled a flash drive from her pocket, hands steady but breath tense. I've been investigating Camilla for months. Alexander froze. A quiet, dangerous silence filled the room. Why? His voice dropped, dark and defensive. Evelyn chose her next words carefully. Because I saw something in her I recognized. A woman who wasn't here for love. A woman who was planning a future without you. A sting of humiliation pricked his chest. Flashback. Evelyn glaring at Camilla during a charity gala, while Camilla laughed too sweetly at a group of younger men. Evelyn pulling Alexander aside afterward. She's not looking at you. She's looking past you. He dismissed it then. He regretted that now. Alexander forced calm. What did you find? Evelyn plugged the drive into his laptop. The screen lit up with documents, texts, deleted emails, bank transfers, secret phone records. And then, a name circled in red. Joseph Blake. Adrian's last name. Alexander leaned closer. Who is that? Adrian's older brother, Evelyn replied. And your former employee. Alexander's stomach dropped. He remembered Joseph. Brilliant. Ambitious. Fire in his eyes. Alexander had fired him 5 years ago after discovering he was sabotaging company projects to sell tech secrets to a competitor. Joseph had sworn revenge. Now his brother was in Alexander's home. Evelyn clicked another document, a screenshot of messages. Camilla, is everything ready? He'll never see it coming. Adrian, we take him down first. Then we take everything. Camilla, I'll distract him. You destroy him. Adrian, you'll finally be free. Camilla, I'll finally be happy. Red heart. The screen blurred as Alexander's vision clouded with rage. All those kisses. All those nights. All those promises. Weapons in a war he didn't know he was fighting. He felt Evelyn's hand gently touch his arm. He stiffened but didn't pull away. There's more, she whispered. But before you see it, I need you to breathe. His eyes burned. Show me. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the man who was beginning to break. Not yet, she said softly. First, you need to understand something. She paused, and her voice trembled despite her strength. I care about you more than you realize, and I refuse to let her destroy you. For a moment, the world stood still. The betrayal had opened a crack, and through that crack, someone else was reaching. Let me help you fight back, Evelyn said, determination hardening in her gaze. You don't deserve this. Alexander didn't respond, but for the first time in days, he didn't feel alone. Alexander returned to his penthouse that evening with a different kind of quiet surrounding him. Not the silence of loss. The silence of strategy. Evelyn's revelations echoed in his mind like bullets ricocheting off steel. Camilla and Adrian were not chaos. They were a calculated attack. And he would treat them as such. He stepped through the front door, and the familiar scent of Camilla's expensive perfume still lingered, a ghost haunting the air. He paused, hand gripping the railing of the staircase, replaying the footage of her laughing here with another man. That laughter had always been his weakness. No more. He turned on the security feed, live. They weren't there now. Good. He needed to assess the damage, both visible and unseen. The living room was left in subtle disarray, not enough to be obvious to anyone else, but Alexander noticed everything. Pillow out of place. A glass smudge on a shelf. Her lipstick stain on a champagne flute. Evidence of their invasion. He walked into her dressing room, a place filled with designer gowns, handbags, shoes. A shrine to material desire. He stared at it all and wondered how much of it she planned to take when she stripped him bare. Then he saw it. A small velvet jewelry box left opened on the vanity. Inside, the engagement ring he'd given her. A rare diamond he spent weeks designing with a private jeweler. She had ripped it off her finger and left it like it meant nothing. He picked it up, his hand steady despite the storm inside him. The diamond caught the light, cold and merciless. A symbol of love that had been weaponized. Flashback. Camilla crying in a shabby apartment the day he met her. Bills scattered, eviction notice on the table. Her saying through tears, I've been abandoned my whole life. Please, don't give up on me. He had promised, I'll take care of you. He had believed her wounds were real. Now he questioned every tear she ever shed. His intercom buzzed, startling him. Security here, Mr. Harrington, a voice crackled. A woman is insisting on coming up. She says it's important. He frowned. Who? Pause. She claims to be Camilla's mother. Alexander felt the floor shift beneath his feet. He hadn't seen her since the wedding. Camilla always insisted they were estranged, that her mother was toxic. He always respected that boundary. But now, lies were everywhere. Boundaries were traps. Send her up. Moments later, the elevator chimed and the doors slid open. A woman in her late 50s stepped out, elegant but weary, eyes carrying grief and regret. She clutched a tattered purse like it held her life inside. Mr. Harrington, she whispered. He approached cautiously. What do you want? Her eyes filled with guilt. To warn you. Before it's too late. Alexander stiffened. Warn me about what? She swallowed hard. About my daughter. About what she's done. And what she plans to do next. His heart hammered. This wasn't a plea. It was a confession. What is she planning? He demanded. The woman's voice trembled, tears spilling despite her attempt to stay composed. She's not finished with you. She wants more than a divorce. Adrian and his brother, they convinced her that you owe them. And she believes it. Alexander took a step back as her next words landed like a death sentence. They're going to destroy you. Financially. Publicly. And if that doesn't break you. A chilling pause. Then they'll finish you another way. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the truth he never wanted but now needed. Camilla wasn't just leaving him. She was hunting him. Thunder rumbled as Alexander processed the weight of the woman's warning. Camilla's mother, Marlene, sank slowly into the couch as if her legs could no longer bear the burden she'd carried alone. Alexander remained standing, eyes locked on her. Why are you telling me this now? Why not sooner? Marlene unclasped her purse with trembling fingers and pulled out a faded photograph. 3 people. A young Camilla, no more than 18, standing between 2 boys. One of them was Adrian. The other, a slightly older version, was Joseph. The Blake brothers. Camilla grew up with them, Marlene whispered. We lived in the same neighborhood, before you came into her life. Alexander's pulse thudded. How did I never know this? Marlene closed her eyes, tears slipping down. Because she begged me never to tell you. She said you would never marry her if you knew where she came from. The lie stretched back farther than he ever imagined. Flashback. Camilla telling him she had no real family. That she grew up with distant relatives who never cared for her. That Adrian was just her trainer. That Joseph was no one. Every lie had been rehearsed. She said you were her savior, Marlene continued, but she always feared you'd save someone else one day. She's terrified of becoming abandoned again. Alexander scoffed with disbelief and anger. So her solution is to abandon me first? Marlene didn't defend her daughter. Because she couldn't. She didn't choose him because he makes her happy, she said with a shaky breath. She chose him because he makes her feel powerful. Alexander sat down finally, exhaustion pressing into his bones. What do they want from me? Revenge, Marlene replied. For something that happened years ago. Alexander's brows tightened. What? Marlene looked up, eyes pleading for understanding. Joseph always blamed you for their father's death. That sentence cracked open a vault of memory. Flashback. A protest outside Harrington Tech HQ years earlier. Laid-off workers screaming his name in rage. A man, thin, desperate, being pulled back by police. Alexander never saw his face clearly. But he remembered the news the next day. Former employee collapses and dies of heart failure during protest. The name. Walter Blake. The father. They said losing his job killed him, Marlene whispered. The brothers swore they'd take from you everything you took from them. Alexander pressed his fingers to his temples, betrayal intertwining with guilt. And Camilla? He asked quietly. Was she always part of this plan? Marlene hesitated. Then nodded, breaking as she did. Joseph found her when she was desperate. He told her she deserved more than poverty, that she could rise by capturing your heart. She sobbed. At first she said she really fell in love with you. But Joseph and Adrian poisoned her mind. Told her you would eventually discard her the way you discarded their father. Alexander stared ahead, numb. Everything, every kiss, every vow, every moment, tainted by manipulation. Marlene reached forward and grabbed his hand, surprising him. You may think she hates you, she whispered, but the truth is worse. He looked at her, eyes cold but curious. She loves you, Marlene cried. But she hates that she loves you. And Adrian knows it. That's why he wants to destroy not just your fortune, but your heart. The storm outside roared as if the sky wanted to drown out the confession. Alexander stood. His voice was steady, controlled. Thank you for telling me the truth, he said. Now I know exactly what I'm fighting. Marlene wiped her eyes as he walked her to the elevator. Please don't hurt her, she begged. Alexander paused, a long silent pause as the elevator doors opened. I won't hurt her, he said. But I won't let her hurt me ever again. The doors closed. And in that sealed silence, Alexander Harrington finally chose. War over love. Camilla Harrington rarely checked her email. But when a message popped up with the subject line, "One last conversation, tonight," she froze. The sender, Alexander Harrington. Adrian lay shirtless on the couch beside her, scrolling through his phone, smirking at the latest headlines dragging Alexander's humiliation through the mud. He glanced at her stiff posture. What is it? Her lips parted as she read. I will give you everything you want. No lawyers. No media. No fight. But only if you meet me at the penthouse for one final dinner tonight. Alone. If you refuse, The deal is off. Her pulse quickened. Adrian leaned in and snatched the phone playfully. He read it and scoffed. He's bluffing, Cammy. He's desperate. She grabbed it back, irritation flashing in her eyes. You don't know him like I do. Adrian sat up, jaw tightening. Then let me come with you. No, the answer came fast, instinctive. He said alone. If he senses you nearby, he'll withdraw everything. Jealous fire flickered in Adrian's gaze. Not love, possession. You're not falling for his mind games again, right? Her chest tightened. Because she didn't know the answer. Flashback. Alexander holding her hand at their wedding. If you ever want out, I'll let you go. Just never lie to me. His voice full of trust she didn't deserve. Another flashback. Him carrying her into this penthouse for the first time. You'll never be afraid of tomorrow again. He kissed her forehead like she was breakable. That kind of protection. Nobody had ever given her that. Not even Adrian. The conflict behind her eyes cracked the mask she wore so carefully. Adrian misread it as weakness. He stood and grabbed her chin, forcing her gaze on him. Listen to me, he hissed. We're close to destroying him. Don't let his money or his voice or his stupid old eyes pull you back. She pushed him away. Art. Anger sharpened her beauty into something dangerous. I'm not stupid, she snapped. I'm the reason this plan is working. Adrian smirked, smoothing his hair back. Then go. Get him to sign over what's ours. And come back to me. Ours. The word twisted inside her. Camilla grabbed her coat with shaking hands and stepped outside. The sky looked strange tonight, too calm after the storm. The city thrummed beneath her feet as she walked, but her chest felt hollow. She paused at the entrance of the penthouse building. 2 security guards opened the doors silently, granting her passage like nothing had changed. But everything had. The elevator doors closed around her, sealing her into silver reflection. She stared at her own image, flawless makeup, perfect hair, designer dress, and eyes swollen with fear. What if Alexander wasn't offering surrender? What if he wanted confrontation? What if the man she left wasn't the man waiting upstairs? Ding. The elevator opened. The penthouse lights were dim, candles flickered, casting shadows that danced along the marble floors. A table for 2 was set with silver and crystal. And at the head of the room, Alexander stood waiting. He wore a black suit that fit him like midnight confidence and a calm expression that felt like a trap. Welcome home, he said quietly. Her breath caught. Because for the first time, she couldn't tell if she was the predator or the prey. Alexander pulled out the chair for Camilla as though this were any normal night, as though trust hadn't rotted between them. Camilla sat slowly, every muscle alert. The soft scrape of the chair against the polished floor felt like a warning. The table was set with her favorites: truffle pasta, rose champagne, candles that smelled like vanilla and memory. Everything designed to disarm her. He poured the champagne with steady hands. To new beginnings. Her throat tightened. Is that what this is? Alexander clinked his glass against hers. That depends on you. The bubbles fizzed violently in her glass. She set it down untouched. You said you'd agree to the settlement. Her voice tried for confidence, but it wavered. I will, he replied calmly. With one condition. Ice slid down her spine. What condition? He studied her face with unsettling softness. The truth. Camilla forced a breath. I already told you. The truth, Camilla? Alexander leaned forward. Candlelight sharpened the lines of his jaw, making him look both heartbreakingly human and terrifyingly unreadable. When did it start? With Adrian. She looked away. The lie burned her tongue, but the truth felt like a weapon he could stab her with. Silence stretched until it nearly strangled her. Before the wedding, she whispered. His jaw flexed, the only crack in his composure. So I paid for him to attend our ceremony. The tuxedo. The hotel. The flight. She nodded, shame coloring her cheeks. Alexander inhaled slowly. Why him? Camilla's voice broke like glass. Because he made me feel powerful. You made me feel owned. He blinked and she wished she could swallow the words back down. Flashback. Her mother whispering warnings before the wedding. Careful, he saves people so he can claim them. Camilla shaking, terrified of needing someone so much. Alexander sat back, absorbing the blow. And what do you feel now? She couldn't answer. Because she didn't know. He slid a sleek folder across the table. My signed concessions. Everything you and Adrian wanted. Shares. Properties. Accounts. Camilla stared. The signature was real. You win, Alexander said quietly. And I lose. Her heart raced faster. If you wanted to give up, why all this? She gestured at the table. The tenderness, the effort. His gaze finally shifted, revealing the grief boiling beneath. Because once you leave that door tonight, I will become someone I can't come back from. And I needed to see you, one last time, as the woman I loved. Camilla's lips trembled. Alexander. He rose and walked toward the balcony, the night skyline burning behind him. He did not look back. I won't stop you from walking away, he said. But if you do, Adrian won't like what happens next. Her breath caught. What do you mean? Alexander turned, and for the first time, he wasn't the wounded husband. He was the wolf they should have never cornered. Because you weren't his first mark, he said softly. And now, he stepped closer. He isn't mine. Camilla's blood ran cold. He had known for longer than she realized. And this dinner? This wasn't surrender. It was warning. Camilla's pulse hammered so loudly she could barely hear the city below. The champagne fizzed untouched. The candles flickered like anxious messengers. Alexander's calmness, that was the most frightening part. What have you done? She whispered. Alexander motioned toward the living room. You should see something. Her legs felt like they belonged to a stranger, but she followed. On the massive TV screen was a paused video, grainy security footage. Adrian. At a bar. His hand on another woman's thigh. His mouth on her neck. His eyes hungry. Camilla froze. This doesn't mean anything. Alexander pressed play. Audio crackled, Adrian's voice. She thinks I love her. Rich women are easier. Daddy issues. I'll drain her, then disappear. Camilla dropped onto the couch as if her bones had been removed. Tears threatened, but she forced them back. Pride was the only shield she had left. Fake, she croaked. Alexander tilted his head. There's more. He switched files. Photos. Adrian with a real girlfriend. A laughing couple. His hands around her waist like permanence. Date stamps from months before Camilla ever met him. He told me he wasn't seeing anyone, Camilla choked out. He tells women what they want to hear, Alexander replied. Classic predatory cycle. For victims before you. All financially ruined. This isn't possible, she whispered. Oh, it's entirely possible, he said. I once funded legal teams to chase men who preyed on vulnerable women. Imagine my surprise when I recognized him. Camilla shook her head violently. You're manipulating the narrative. You're twisting things. Alexander didn't argue. He simply handed her an envelope. Inside, Adrian's real name. Police reports. Restraining orders. From different cities. Her world lurched. No, she whispered. No. He loves me. Alexander leaned forward, voice like velvet wrapped around steel. He loves access. And you just gave him access to me. Camilla finally crumbled, tears falling silently. How long have you known? She asked. Since the night of our anniversary party, he said. When I saw the messages you forgot to delete. Camilla gasped. The memory struck like a slap. A frantic rush to dress, forgetting one message thread open on her tablet. Adrian kissing emojis. A hotel address. Alexander poured bourbon that night. She thought he hadn't noticed. He had noticed everything. And you didn't say anything? She whispered. Alexander's expression hardened. I needed to be sure. I needed proof. Not just for me, for you. Lightning flashed across the horizon, illuminating his face. He looked ancient and dangerous, a man who had loved too deeply and had the means to destroy with precision. What do you want from me? Camilla asked, voice small. Alexander stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. A choice. Her tears slowed. The room felt suffocating. Choose me, he said, and I make him disappear from both our lives. Legally. Permanently. You walk away richer and untouched. And if I choose him, she whispered. Alexander's answer was ice in her veins. Then you'll both drown together, and I'll be the one holding the water. Camilla's heart shattered against the silence. Because for the first time since she said the words, "You're too old for me," she realized the truth. She had left the wrong monster. Camilla stumbled out of the penthouse lobby, her breath uneven and her mind in fragments. The cold slapped her skin, but nothing could cool the heat of humiliation burning in her chest. She needed Adrian. She needed him to tell her Alexander was lying. That love wasn't another trick. She spotted him across the street leaning on his motorcycle, perfectly lit by the glow of a street lamp, young, tempting, familiar. She ran to him like he was oxygen and she'd been underwater too long. He opened his arms, too quick, too rehearsed. You look shaken, babe. What happened? He asked, smoothing her hair, scanning her for damage like a claimant inspecting property. He knows everything, she breathed. He showed me documents. Videos. He said you've done this before. Adrian's jaw tensed. Your husband has more money than God. He can forge anything. She wanted to believe it. Oh, how she wanted to. But then his phone buzzed. A woman's name appeared on the screen. Emily Redhart. Camilla's heart stuttered. But what broke her was the preview message beneath. Miss you. Can't wait to hold you tonight. Her stomach dropped open like a trapdoor. Adrian saw her expression and slammed the phone into his pocket. It's not what you think. But the words sounded too familiar, worn-out excuses polished for repeated use. How long? She asked, voice hollow. Adrian exhaled sharply, annoyed rather than guilty. A couple months. But that's not the point. Camilla stared. A couple of months? You were married to a billionaire, he snapped. You think I expected you to actually divorce him? She swayed. The ground tilted beneath her heels. So everything was a game, she whispered. He grabbed her arm, grip tightening with impatience. Don't start that drama. You and I, we had fun. We still can. Think logically, stay with him, get the payout, then we disappear with the money. Camilla flinched, stepping back from a stranger. And then, his eyes changed. Cold. Calculating. I'm not walking away from this empty-handed, Adrian hissed. We had a plan. You promised. I was stupid, she said shakily. I didn't see you for what you are. Oh, you saw me, he growled, grabbing her again. You like the danger. Don't pretend you didn't. A black car pulled up behind them. Two men stepped out, suits sharp, eyes lethal. Adrian paled. What the hell? Alexander's driver approached calmly. Mr. Black requests a private word with the gentleman. Adrian released Camilla instantly, backing away like a startled animal. You called them? I didn't call anyone, she whispered, but a part of her wished she had. The driver smiled, not kindly. Sir, do come along. You've been expected. Expected. Adrian attempted a pathetic laugh. I'm not going anywhere with you. The second man grabbed him by the arm, not violently, but with the authority of someone who didn't need permission. Adrian looked to Camilla, panic finally cracking his charm. Don't let them take me. Camilla, please. For a moment, her heart flickered with pity. Then she remembered Emily Redhart, and the 4 victims before her, and how easily she could have been next. She stepped back. Silent permission. As they shoved Adrian into the car, he screamed her name, raw, furious, terrified. The door slammed shut. Tires screeched. And Adrian was gone. Camilla stood alone under the street lamp, shaking, mascara trailing like war paint. She had chosen no one. But one of the men she rejected still loved her. And the other? The other no longer had to preet. N.D. Camilla returned to the penthouse because she had nowhere else left to run. Rain clung to her hair, her dress, her lashes, as if the sky itself mourned the fiction she once called love. Alexander waited in the dimly lit living room, untouched bourbon swirling in a crystal glass. He didn't look triumphant. He looked tired. Broken in ways only betrayal can carve into a man. She closed the door behind her. It clicked like the lock on a cage. It's done? He asked quietly. She nodded, lips trembling. They took him. A beat of silence stretched, thin as a blade. I didn't ask them to hurt him, Alexander said, voice low. But you didn't stop them either. Their eyes met, 2 storms crashing. Camilla stepped closer. You were right. About everything. He took in her disheveled hair, the smeared makeup, the loneliness clinging to her like a second skin. I wanted to protect you, he said. A confession disguised as justification. No, she whispered. You wanted to own me. Flashback. Alexander buying her silence with diamonds. Covering her fears with vacations. Caging her insecurities behind private jets and perfect photos. Camilla's voice cut through the quiet. You didn't marry a wife, Alexander. You bought a witness to your loneliness. He flinched, the truth finally drawing blood. He set the bourbon down with a soft clink. And what now? You want freedom? Camilla nodded. And what does freedom look like to you? He stood, his stature casting shadows long and oppressive. An apartment? A normal life? A man who won't worship you with wealth. She swallowed. Freedom is a life where I choose myself. Alexander studied her, as if calculating whether love could survive without possession. And if I let you walk away, he asked, will you ever forgive me? Her eyes softened with a sadness deeper than hate. Forgiveness isn't a gift I owe you. Lightning cracked behind the windows. Alexander stepped close, too close. You once told me I was too old for you, he murmured. But the truth is, I was too much. Camilla's tears finally fell, slow, sorrowful, cleansing. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not for leaving, but for staying so long. He took her hand, the gentlest touch he'd ever given, then slowly let it slide free. I'll send the paperwork in the morning, he said. You'll have everything promised. There was no battle left in him. She walked to the door, paused, turned. You don't have to become the monster you fear, she said softly. His gaze darkened, not with anger but with a lifetime of unspoken wounds. I already did, he said. Camilla stepped into the elevator, watching him shrink behind closing doors until he became memory. As she exited the lobby to meet the storm, she didn't know who she was yet, the villain, the victim, the survivor. But she knew this. Love had used her. Lust had fooled her. Power had owned her. Now she only had herself. Behind her, on the top floor, Alexander stared out at the wild, merciless night. A single tear hit the glass. Then he smiled, sharp, dangerous, reborn. Let her go, he whispered. She'll return when she realizes the world is crueler than I ever was. Because in his heart's twisted logic, losing her wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new war. Fade to black.